Hello, this is Ian Lewins, the Foundation Programme Tutor at Derby, and this is our second HORUS ePortfolio video, which is going to look at how to create forms and with a particular reference for the initial clinical supervisor or educational supervisors meeting. So I've logged in, I can see that I'm there, and I can see on my home page that at the moment I've got no forms that require my signature and there are no forms currently in draft. So if I want to create a form, I'm going to go here to Forms Start New. And what we can see here is this page with a lot of things on it, but what I can see is quite nicely that HORUS is split up into when I need to do these meetings. So at the beginning of each placement, throughout each placement, and at the end of each placement. It also tells me who should be doing these forms and how many the trainee needs. So it's quite a useful reminder. We've also got, for the trainee, the mandatory forms throughout the year. So things like your tabs or your core procedures. So it tells me that they need 15 core procedures. And there's all sorts of forms down here that we can click on and add in. But what we need to do is we want to create an initial meeting, and we'll call it with the educational supervisor in this instance. So I'm going to go to this form here and click on this. So this is the form I'm going to get. Now we've had a few queries about this form, in that all these sections here with an asterisk in it obviously have to be filled in, and people have been particularly getting stuck with the placement. So we'll talk how to get through that. So the first thing you need to do is fill in the date. So I'm going to say we did it today. Now we need to put in the name of the foundation doctor. I'm supervising somebody called Emma Gore. Now if I very quickly type in Dr. Emma Gore, nothing happens, which then, when I filled all this in, becomes problematic because it won't autofill the placement and it won't let me save it. So what we found is that if I put in Gore, it finds it. Yeah, see, it doesn't seem to like that. So my advice has been to other people to put in surname first, and it will find that doctor and their unique identifier. So if I click on that, it then finds her, and it finds her placement. So the tip is put in your trainee's surname and then let HORUS find them. So I can now click on that placement, and I'm going to say I'm the educational supervisor only. If you're both the educational and clinical supervisor, it suggests that you should be completing the combined meeting instead. Or if you're the clinical supervisor, it's telling you you're filling in the wrong form and you need to fill in the clinical supervisor form instead. So we can say that we need to discuss a PDP as part of this meeting. And have you agreed a personal development plan for this placement, yes or no? If I click on yes, that's fine, nothing else comes up, and I record the comments and notes as discussed during the initial meeting. If the trainee hasn't got a PDP, I can click on that and this other drop-up box will appear. We've then got to agree when a PDP will be arranged by, and then we'll click on generate a PDP form following completion of that meeting, and again record any comments. So comments. I've then got two options. One is to save and review before submission, or one is to save and leave as draft. So for the meantime, I'm going to save and leave as draft. Okay, and it will tell you that it's in draft status only. And if I close that down and go back home, I can see that here it is. Here's my initial meeting with the as educational supervisor. It's in draft form, and I need to finish it off. And I can open that up. I can make further changes, and then when I've made further changes and I'm happy, I can then save and review before submitting. So if I click on that, it's telling me that we didn't agree when a PDB should be agreed by. So let's say in 2 weeks' time, and we'll generate a form. So I'm going to save and review before submitting. Fine, so here we are. So this is just saying this is your initial meeting, this is the name of the trainee, where they're being trained, which speciality they're in currently, that this is in draft status only. And as before, if I close this down, I can see here that this is still in draft form. If I go back and I say mark as complete, that form then goes off to the trainee, and they then get an email from HORUS saying your supervisor's filled in that form. You need to sign it to say you agree with what was discussed and you agree with the PDP aspects that were discussed at the meeting. And once they countersign it, then it's all completed. A similar, so for as an example of that, if I send that off to my trainee, they will then get an item appearing on this side saying this form requires your signature. So, for example, when the trainees are creating tickets for example, their SLEs, and saying you did a DOPS, for example, with me, they fill it in, they sign it, they send it to you, and that will appear here for your signature. Now, as we've said previously, this is currently not yet available till we understand August the 21st, but the initial meetings are available, so we can do those. So that should hopefully help you troubleshoot around those first meetings and get us up and running with HORUS.